Hi, okay. This video is probably gonna be a little different from my usual videos because normally I just yap about like random shit. Like if you've seen my other videos, you've seen me yap about Gen Alpha humor and how my high school kind of sucks. But today I wanted to talk about something that genuinely affected me mentally for a while. And honestly, I'm kind of nervous posting this because I know this is a sensitive topic and I don't want to sound stupid or dramatic or anything. But I also feel like pretending certain online spaces don't affect people would be dishonest. So yeah, today I'm talking about how discovering shtwt genuinely messed with my brain. And if you somehow don't know what that is, good. Genuinely, stay innocent, please, because I found that side of the internet at like the perfect time for it to ruin me mentally. And the thing is, nobody really warns you properly about this stuff. People either joke about it or romanticize it or turn it into aesthetics and memes and little edited posts with sparkles on them, and suddenly your brain stops recognizing how unhealthy it actually is. That's the scary part. Nothing about it looks dangerous at first. It just looks like sad people talking. And when you're already struggling mentally, seeing other people talk openly about self-destructive thoughts feels weirdly comforting at first. Because you think, oh, finally somebody understands. But then after a while, it stops being support and starts becoming normalization. And normalization is terrifying. Because humans adapt to literally anything if they see it enough. You can normalize unhealthy behavior to yourself super fast online because your brain starts treating it like a normal everyday thing instead of something serious. I think the thing that messed me up the most was how competitive and performative everything became. Like people online will turn genuine suffering into an aesthetic competition without even realizing it. And I started comparing myself to strangers constantly, which sounds stupid now, but at the time it genuinely affected how I viewed myself. Because when you're constantly surrounded by people posting harmful thoughts 24/7, your brain starts absorbing it whether you want it to or not. It changes your internal dialogue. And I didn't realize how much it changed mine until later. Also, can we talk about how social media algorithms are literally evil? Because once you interact with one thing, suddenly your entire feed becomes doom. Like the app sees you struggling and goes, oh, you liked one sad post? Okay, here's Psychological Damage Infinity Edition. Like, thanks man, awesome, incredible. And another thing that really bothered me was how detached people became from actual reality. Because online spaces can create this weird echo chamber where everybody is validating each other's worst impulses instead of helping each other recover. And I'm not saying everybody there is evil or bad because honestly a lot of people are just hurt. But hurt people can still unintentionally hurt each other, especially in spaces where nobody's really trying to get better anymore. I think the worst part was how numb I became, like genuinely numb. Because after seeing self-destructive content constantly, it stopped shocking me, and that scared me. Because there was a point where I realized, wait, why does this feel normal to me now? And realizing your perception got warped is honestly horrifying. And I know somebody's just gonna comment, log off. Which, yeah, obviously, but it's not always that easy when you're already mentally vulnerable. People use these spaces as coping mechanisms, bad coping mechanisms, but still coping mechanisms. And when you're lonely or overwhelmed or insecure, unhealthy online communities can feel weirdly welcoming at first, especially when they act understanding and comforting. But eventually, I realized I was becoming more miserable the longer I stayed in those spaces. Like I was literally feeding my brain negativity every single day and wondering why I felt awful all the time. Which in hindsight is like drinking spoiled milk every morning and wondering why your stomach hurts. Obviously something bad is gonna happen. Also, I genuinely think the internet has a huge problem with romanticizing suffering in general. People turn mental illness into aesthetics so easily online. Sadness becomes pretty. Destructive behavior becomes relatable. And suddenly people stop taking serious things seriously. And I think that's dangerous, especially for younger people. Because when you're young and already insecure, mentally struggling, you absorb everything around you way easier than you realize. And the internet knows that. These platforms are literally designed to keep feeding you content over and over again until it becomes part of your everyday thinking. And I don't think I realized how bad things were getting for me until I genuinely hit a point where I couldn't handle my own brain anymore. This is probably the hardest part of the video to talk about. But eventually everything kind of caught up to me all at once, and I ended up hurting myself pretty badly. Which is weird to say out loud because I'm so used to joking about everything constantly. Like, my natural response to discomfort is literally turning into a clown and making stupid jokes. But there genuinely was a point where things got really serious. And the scariest part is that it didn't even feel shocking anymore when it happened. That's how warped my brain had gotten. Because when you spend so long around self-destructive content, your mind starts treating harmful thoughts like background noise instead of warning signs. And that is horrifying in hindsight. Like, genuinely horrifying. I remember sitting there afterward realizing, oh my god, something is actually seriously wrong. Because up until then, I kept convincing myself I was fine, or that I was being dramatic, or attention-seeking, or overreacting, which I think a lot of mentally struggling people do, honestly. You minimize your own suffering until it becomes impossible to ignore anymore. Eventually, I got hospitalized, and honestly, that experience scared me more than I expected it to, because suddenly everything became real. Like, really real. There's a difference between romanticizing suffering online and actually sitting in a hospital realizing, oh, I could have genuinely ruined my life. Those are two completely different realities. And being there made me realize how disconnected internet culture can become from actual consequences. Because online, people repost horrible things with pretty filters and music and aesthetic text overlays. But hospitals are not aesthetic. Mental breakdowns are not aesthetic. Hurting yourself is not aesthetic. It's terrifying and exhausting and painful and lonely. And I think part of me felt embarrassed too, because I'm usually the person who jokes around all the time. People see me as funny or energetic or chaotic or whatever. So suddenly, being in a situation where I genuinely needed help felt humiliating, almost. Like I had failed somehow. But honestly, I think pretending you're okay all the time destroys people, especially people who cope through humor, like me. Because eventually the jokes stop covering things up, which sounds really dramatic, but it's true. Like, there genuinely was a point where I stopped making jokes as much, and people around me noticed. Teachers noticed, friends noticed, my family noticed. Because when somebody who normally talks a lot suddenly becomes quiet, something's usually wrong. And I'm not blaming one website for all my problems, obviously. My mental health issues didn't magically appear because of social media. But I do think certain online spaces made everything worse, especially because they normalized unhealthy thinking instead of encouraging recovery. And I think that's why I wanted to make this video. Not to scare people or moralize or act superior or anything. I just genuinely think people deserve to know that these spaces can affect you mentally more than you realize, especially when you're vulnerable and looking for comfort. I don't know. I just think people deserve better than turning their suffering into content for algorithms. This video got depressing. Next upload, I'm probably gonna rant about group projects or something because I cannot emotionally recover from recording this right now.